let's. I know that not all of you are trying, but I'm gonna continue on with fruit, and so let's talk about passion fruit. Okay. One of the things is, even though it's not a great time for fruits like peaches and nectarines and plums and all those different varieties of melons that you're used to in the summer, and all those different varieties of grapes that are available. I say this is a great time to enjoy exotic fruits and open your eyes to some of these exciting things, especially to get the kids or the grandkids to try.
Robert, good time to start distributing the
passion fruit.
Great.
First. Okay, so this is the passion fruit. You're going to get trays on a couple of fruit that I'm going to be talking about, but I don't want you to start eating until I tell you to. Okay? Because usually when they get passed out, everybody's heads down, they're done. And then they're like, I don't even know what I ate. It was good. I want more. And we're limited. So we didn't, in other words, thank you. I'm flattered. We didn't expect so many people to show up today. So
we're glad they did.
Well, we're glad you did, yes. So the passion fruit. It's a purple, and some of you probably are growing these in your backyard. There's two different varieties of passion fruit. Most often than not, it's the purple variety. Okay? Now, we're going to try this first, but I want to let you know that we're a wholesaler, so our fruit is not totally ripe. Okay? So when you know a passion fruit is ripe, it actually wrinkles up really good. These ones are going to be a little bit tartar, but you've always heard about this fruit, passion fruit, and you probably had it in a drink, somewhere 5 o'clock, whatever, it's somewhere, and you enjoy one of those drinks, but you've never actually seen one whole. And this is what they look like whole. When you bring them home, the best way to get any type of fruit ripened is to keep it on your counter. Okay? And one of the things that the fruits, this one communicates by two things. Fragrance, which most fruits tell you it's ripe by fragrance. See, when you put a fruit in the refrigerator, you just put it into like a cold coma. It's not going to ripen up right. That's why fruits should always be on the counter. So there's only a few fruits that go bad really fast when you buy it from the store, and that's like raspberries, blackberries, and maybe strawberries. But if you want to get a fruit ripen, mangoes, papayas, other fruits that I'll be talking about, like cherimoya and stuff like that, you should always keep them on the counter. Then you don't have to use refrigeration space. You would only put a piece of fruit in the. This is a good thing to know. You would only put a piece of fruit into the refrigerator for two reasons. You want to put it into a coma so it doesn't ripen and go bad, right? You don't want food waste. Or you like it chilled before you enjoy, okay? And usually about 6 to 8 hours for something to chill appropriately there. But anyway, this fruit will then wrinkle up in about 3 days at room temperature, and we had it 1 day from yesterday. So it didn't ripen up, but go ahead and take that spoon. I always describe it as a gelatinous, crunchy, tic-tacky, and the thing is, it's a very concentrated fruit, so a little fruit goes a long way.
I might add that passion fruit has become a really big thing in cocktails. In fruity cocktails. In fact, the classic New Orleans Hurricane was originally made with passion fruit juice. So the original Hurricane is actually yellow.
That's the yellow variety.
It doesn't look like Hawaiian punch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's continue on. Let's now talk about another exciting, the elephant in the room, the jackfruit. Who's familiar with this fruit? Raise your hand. Okay, good. And have you guys, you might have heard about it, but have you tried it before? Good. Now, in your little trays, you have a jackfruit pieces to try. Now, the jackfruit, we've carried this fruit forever. Our company is 35 years old, and nobody started, and basically they were only sold to the Asian markets. You wouldn't find them at your typical supermarket here or whatever. But now you do. Why? It wasn't the Asian population that made it popular. It's the vegetarians. They found out that in Asia, they take an unripened jackfruit. An unripened jackfruit is a fruit that was picked right off the tree. It's dark green, and it's hard as a rock. And they cut it open, and they started cooking with it. Because when you cook it, it has the texture of like meat, kind of more like a pulled pork, and so that's like the most common thing to do with the raw version of the fruit. However, if you let it sit out for a while after it's picked, it starts to turn yellow. It also becomes very fragrant. So go ahead and try the fruit. It's the yellow fruit that's there. And if you taste it, I always say, gosh, it tastes just like juicy fruit gum. Is that where they got the flavor profile for juicy fruit gum? I don't know. Ask juicy fruit gum. But that's what I'm going with on that. And there's actually 3 edible parts of a jackfruit. And this is very intimidating because if you're a household of like 1 or 2 people, the chances, and this is a small jackfruit, okay? The jackfruit is the largest of all fruits here in the world. They actually get up to 100 pounds. And they grow in a tree. Can you imagine being under that tree? What was that, George Washington who sat under an apple tree and hit him in the head? Or was that someone else?
Isaac Newton.
Oh, Isaac Newton. Thank you. She's in high school, I'm not. That's my daughter, by the way. Can you imagine if one of these things fell down? Let's not. That's a bad vision there. But the thing is not only is it large and intimidating and you buy it by the pound, right? So this is about 8 or 9 pounds, and it sells for like $3 a pound. So this is like a $30-some fruit, you know? But it's such a great fruit to bring to a party or graduation or some type of event where you have a group of people. But I find that the jackfruit, once you pull out all the fruit, put it into a freezer bag, you can freeze it for like up to 6 months and enjoy it fresh. But I'm going to dig into this. This is the hard part about the jackfruit, is digging into one of these, okay? And you need a couple tools. You need a good knife, a big knife, to be able to cut it, a little steak knife, a little lot of work trying to cut this thing. You need cooking spray. The reason why you need cooking spray is because this is one of the stickiest of all fruits. And there's actually 3 edible parts to this. I'm not a trained chef per se, but I am the chef at home. And I like to play with the produce a lot and experiment with my kids. There's one, she's alive still. So you take the spray and you spray right here. Another good thing is you can use gloves, plastic gloves, and you spray your gloves because it's like really sticky. As it gets more ripened and fragrant and yellow, it becomes sweeter, like most fruit, but it actually gets stickier as well. So I'm going to cut into this bad boy. And I know a lot of you looked at this and said, that's a durian. If I just cut a durian, this room would clear out so fast, nobody would remain sitting here. Durian looks like this, but it's brown and has bigger spikes. It almost looks like a mine, a landmine or one of the floating mines. And it will clear a room. It's one of the they call it the stinky fruit, but those in Asia love it. And it's definitely a fruit to try outdoors and put it on your bucket list. I mean, I've had it before. You can buy it. I actually know where you can buy it. So you guys might be inspired, like some of the Asian markets. Have any of you guys been to like H Mart? Yeah. Or they have a little freezer section in the produce department where you can buy one of these things. But when you thaw it outside because don't leave it in your car for more than an hour because it will remind you every day for a year. Once that thing cracks open and thaws, yeah, you'll clear a room really fast. And in international airports, especially in Asia, there's 2 things you cannot bring into the airport. One is durian, and the other one's kimchi. So. Anyway, to make a long story short, if you want to try to go there, Ranch Market, a couple other Asian markets downtown, in Koreatown, Thai Town, they sell them too, but they usually only sell them frozen. I don't think you'll ever find the dragon fruit in a regular produce department on a regular rack. Okay, so here's the description. Has anybody had a durian in here? Yes. So it has a sweetness to it. However, it's like eating, don't smell it. That's the worst thing you can do when you eat it. I know that's hard.
What's it smell like?
Gosh, garbage. I don't know. It's terrible. But it's like eating dirty socks, sure. It's not like eating dirty socks, though I don't know what that tastes like. But think of it as like biting into like garlic and onions and like creamy taffy. Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, there we go. We'll go with that.
You gotta try it.
All right.
It's get ice cream flavor with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
That works.
Sure.
But it still has.
It might be the next flavor at Yogurtland. I know they've done jackfruit already. Who knows?
I've had it in a cocktail.
And you've had it, Philip, you've had everything in a cocktail.
Just about.
So, always find pots somewhere with Phil.
Just about.
All right. Find out about some of the events with cocktails with him afterwards. Anyway, okay, let's talk about the jackfruit. Okay, so you've got 3 edible parts on the inside. You've got the seeds, which is that part. You pull them out and put them to the side, okay? This fruit is not wasted. So you've got a lot of these seeds. They're actually round. I just cut it and then the seeds came off. Then you have the yellow fruit, and then you have fibers in between. It's the fruit and the fibers that people put to the side and use in cooking. The fibers alone, you can only cook with them. They're very chewy. That kind of makes why the meat is like kind of like pulled pork when you cook with it. You can still use the right version, but it'll make your vegan pulled pork much sweeter. And that center area right there, don't want to touch that or cut around it because it is extremely sticky, and that core is the only unedible part, including the skin. So you just really need to dig in here. I don't want to get my hands too sticky and whatnot, but it's a fruit you just kind of have to pull apart. Oops. And not throw like that. That happens. But you see how like I pull it back like a melon there? And you just have to work it. See, like, so what you have is this part. So they come out like, right? So in each pod is a seed, put to the side. You're going to cook them later. And you have the edible parts. The fibers is what you put to the side if you're going to cook with them, okay? The fibers and the flesh is what you can cook with, okay, to make this vegan pulled pork. So you don't want to eat the core, which is white, and the skin, but the rest is completely edible. And what do you guys think of it? Isn't it delicious? Look at that. So next time you're going to go to the store, Smart and Final, or wherever, Bristol Farms, Gelson's, most of the stores carry it. Whole Foods, Sprouts, not too many stores not carry it anymore. The thing is that some of them are big, some of them are small, but hopefully Melissa's working on a technology to allow for it to be cut into single serving sizes. So we're working on that. That's an R&D thing.
It doesn't yield a lot of fruit, Robert.
Huh?
It doesn't yield a lot of fruit as far as the weight ratio to what you're actually
Okay, good question. I get that question from time to time. This 10-pound fruit will produce 6 pounds. 6 pounds of edible flesh, a pound of seeds, and then the skin and core. But yeah, just because it's 10 pounds doesn't mean, it's like a cantaloupe. When you get a 3-pound cantaloupe, you're going to get, maybe 2 pounds of fruit in it.
Robert, the seeds?
Yes.
Roasting?
Oh, the seeds.
Roasting
You
boiling?
cook them. You cook them in something between a potato and a chestnut. So most fruit seeds you do not eat. They have a little bit of arsenic in it, and that's why it'll give you a tummy ache if you eat like the seed of like a plum or something like that. Never recommend doing it. Don't even try it. It will give you a stomach ache. But in this case, you can actually cook. There's a couple of tropical fruits that you can actually eat the seeds if you know how to prepare it right. Another one is like papaya seeds. They're very peppery and whatnot. But yes, so there's 3 edible parts on that jackfruit. Okay, let's talk about the dragon fruit. The last fruit that you have there. See, sir, you already ate ahead, huh? An example. Do not sit in front seat because you've been scolded. All right. So the last fruit. Okay. Does anybody know what this is? It's a dragon fruit. Very good. It's also referred to as the papaya. Believe it or not, it's actually a fruit of a cactus, but tastes very different than that of a cactus pear or prickly pear. You know, the ones that grow. I recommend never pick the ones in your backyard. It's not the large thorns that get you, but the ones you don't see, because you'll get them all over your hand. The ones you get in the store, they have these gloves that kind of take off the thorns, so most often than not, you won't get the thorns in your hands, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can. But this is also a cactus fruit. These are false thorns called bracts. This fruit is very popular in Southeast Asia. They're available year-round out of Vietnam into the United States. They're available in California, the California season. The largest grove of fresh dragon fruit is in Fallbrook, believe it or not. And that's where we first started growing them and making them available here in the United States. The season is late July through about November, December. So we just ended the season at the end of December, so now we're importing. We also import these in from Honduras. We also, actually there's a Florida season now that grows these as well. Now there's two different varieties of the pink dragon fruit. This one's called the dragon fruit. So how are you gonna know the difference between the magenta red fleshed one, which is the one you have there, and the white flesh? The white flesh is the more common one. You just look on the sticker. Red dragon fruit, because they look exactly the same. That's what I was trying to get to. I always recommend getting the colored one, like the one you tried there, the red dragon fruit, because it's lightly sweeter. The white dragon fruit is very, very mild, because you look at this fruit and going, oh my gosh, this is going to be like the most spectacular fruit experience of my life. And then you bite into it, and it's very mild, isn't it? And you know, makes the coolest things when you cut them and then put them in the freezer, and you make little dragon-sicles. But you can just cut them into a fruit salad. The fruit is absolutely gorgeous on the inside. But this is cool, and this is our company is really known for introducing new fruits and vegetables in the United States, like the dragon fruit, like the mangosteen. I can go on and on. But there's now a new variety of dragon fruit that you're going to find in your local stores. Looks like this on the outside without these little bracts, but it's yellow, okay? Now, if you want to have a really sweet experience, get the yellow one. It cuts white, and it's like my favorite fruit now. And they're from Ecuador and available year-round. That one is really spectacularly sweet. So, and this has been one of the biggest trends in the United States, and these are available year-round as well. There's one thing about the dragon fruit that's really cool, and being in the produce industry, I've been able to go into a lot of growing fields and whatnot, and I thought this was really cool to share with you. Now, because we're growing the dragon fruit when we start growing them in Fallbrook, because they have the ideal weather where it doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold, because they don't like a freeze, and it's a vining cactus. The fruit, this is funny, and people who are in San Pedro are going to relate to this, because this fruit reminds me of the grunion. You guys know what the grunion are? Okay, so the grunion come out during this time every 2 weeks in the full moon. You go on the beach and they come out and lay their eggs because of the high tide and whatnot. On the dragon fruit, the flower only blooms at a full moon, okay? And usually in an area where the dragon fruit grows, there's these like moths or bats that pollinate, and we don't have those moths and bats here. So the growers have to go out and pollinate them using like a paintbrush. They do this with other fruit like cherimoyas to ensure a good crop. Because if it doesn't get pollinated those 2 or 3 nights when it blooms, it has a beautiful flower that blooms when the moon is out and actually closes up when the sun comes out. If it doesn't pollinate, the flower will fall off and will not become a fruit. Pretty crazy, huh? Wow. So the dragon fruit is like grunion. That's a San Pedro thing too. So you can actually grow these in San Pedro too, as well, because we have the right weather. It's like 70 degrees year round, right? Okay, so where are we going? Oh, now let's talk about cherimoya. Should I keep on going? Yeah. Okay. All right, cherimoyas. If you only knew, this is an exciting, exotic fruit. Half the year it's grown in California, and they're grown up in Carpinteria, right where the passion fruit are grown too. And they are like one of the sweetest of all fruits. In Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer talks about how delicious this fruit is. There's reference actually in that book. It's for many of you, you would know this flavor. It's tutti frutti in flavor. Yeah, It's not ripe, but I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside. Total waste of a cherimoya right now, because like an avocado, when you cut it, it's like, oh my gosh.
Robert, the other area, Chile is the big country, South American country that grows the fruit. Chile.
Yes.
Correct.
The other half of the season we get it from Chile, and that's how we have it available year-round, because of the proximity to the for this being a winter fruit and being at the peak of the season, because it doesn't like the heat. We look to the equator in the off-season. When it's summer here, it's winter down there. And so that's how we're able to have them the rest of the year. The skin is not edible, and the skin will actually turn brownish black, become soft. It takes about 3 or 4 days at room temperature. Then I put it in the refrigerator for 6 or 7 hours, and I give it to my wife because this is her favorite fruit. Guys, I don't have to bring a dozen of roses home. I just bring a dozen of these cherimoyas home when she's mad, and everything's just okay. So, anyway, and there's black seeds on the inside. Again, don't eat the seeds. They'll give you stomachache. You can Google that. Yeah, seeds give you stomachache. So you can't eat the seeds. But this is one of those fruits if I always say if America only knew. All right, what else do we have up here? Oh, let's talk about another exciting fruit that is becoming more and more popular, and that's the coconut, right? So most people know coconut either by the brown one. Okay, and I need to disclose this because this is another question I get all the time. Okay, so there's brown coconut, there's a white coconut, and then there's that parking cone one that is white. It looks like a parking cone. That's a young coconut. Okay, so the brown coconut is a storage coconut. That means you shouldn't drink the water inside. It wouldn't taste good. To really enjoy the water on the inside of the coconut, once it's picked, then you can enjoy it. But once it's picked, it's got to be put in refrigeration. So the white coconuts, as long as they stay in refrigeration, the water is good. But on the coconuts that are fully matured, see, if you didn't know, a coconut, actually, this is not the whole fruit. The coconut is really large and green, and then you peel it, and then this is the seed. But in the seed, inside, when you are able to actually break this thing open, and I know a lot of people have techniques with either a machete, a hammer, a screwdriver. There's something to food safety that just doesn't sound right about it, right? Okay, and then so the storage coconuts, they're mainly used for the flesh on the inside. Don't drink the water. The water just doesn't taste right. However, if you buy the white ones, I didn't happen to bring a white one. It's called the sweet young coconut or the Thai coconut. They're from Thailand. They're available year-round. The big drink right now is everybody drinking coconut water because of the natural electrolytes and all the other health benefits. And you get the coconut. We actually have a tool. You can pop a hole in it, put a straw in it, because that one's mainly used just for the water. Well, we have this is a newer product, and we do this like all the time. It's crazy. And we actually are going to have this available year-round. This might be new to you guys. And this is a Thai coconut, but fully matured. So the actual husk was able to come off. Okay? And you buy it like this. Why is it like this? Now look at this. Now the problem I mentioned with coconuts is you have to bring it home, and you have to get your machete or chef's knife or whatever and do your thing to open it up and whatnot. On the bottom is the straw. Okay. There's 3 soft eyes on a coconut. One eye is softer than the other 3. Okay? On a storage coconut, the eyes dry up. On a fresher coconut, like a white coconut, you'll be able to find the eye. But if you don't know a coconut, you don't know. What we did was we have a seal where the soft eye is. Voila. Who likes coconut water? There we go. Coconuts, that's not water on the inside. That's not milk on the inside. That's water. Milk is a process of cooking the water, the meat. It's a process. So to make it, you have to go onto the internet to know how to make coconut milk. But you can easily buy a can for that. This is water, natural water, and it has a natural electrolyte.